In May of 1883, an elderly woman named Ann Fields passed away in Clackamas County, Oregon. What she left behind was a remarkably large, highly complex financial portfolio. Her estate inventory begins with a house and lot in Canema, valued at $300. Continuing down the ledger, we find massive promissory notes: a $1,000 note from C.D. Latourette, $900 from Sarah Epperly, and $500 from Minerva Miller. She was effectively operating as a standalone, one-woman bank, lending massive sums of capital to her community. A woman wielding this level of autonomous financial power flies directly in the face of expectations for the 1880s. Women of this era rarely held their own credit, let alone the capital to act as primary lenders. So how exactly did Ann Fields acquire all this money? What sequence of events allowed a frontier woman to build and fiercely protect a fortune of this size? We have to look outside her probate file to find the answer. The truth is buried in an entirely different set of legal records filed nearly 3 decades earlier. In January of 1856, a petition for divorce was filed. The document paints a picture of Anne that is highly dependent, hostile, and negative. To understand the wealthy matriarch of 1883, we have to look closely at the harrowing trial of the accused wife in 1856. The plaintiff in that 1856 case was her husband, Ambrose Fields. He initiated the divorce, and his legal strategy was to attack Anne's character. Ambrose swore to the court that Anne was cruel and harsh, citing her absolute refusal to cook his meals or wash his clothes. He built a narrative of total victimhood. He told the judge that he hired female help to do the chores, but Anne maliciously teased and provoked these women until they fled the house, leaving poor Ambrose to do his own laundry. Ambrose deliberately weaponized the rigid, patriarchal expectations of the era, attempting to use her refusal of basic domestic servitude as legal grounds for her total financial ruin. 3 months later, Anne filed her sworn response to the court. Her version of events shatters his narrative. Anne revealed a crucial piece of backstory. Ambrose had abandoned her and their 9 children in Missouri in 1847. For 5 years, he sent nothing back for their support. Left with 80 acres of half-cleared, deeply mortgaged land, Anne paid off the massive debts Ambrose left behind, cleared the mortgages, and managed to educate their children entirely on her own. When she finally crossed the plains to join him in Oregon in 1852, she brought 3 yoke of oxen, valuable horses, and over $1,000 in cold, hard cash. The reunion in Oregon was a nightmare. Anne testified that Ambrose took her hard-earned money for his own use, subjected her to vile abuse, and threatened her with physical violence. Anne admitted she stopped washing his clothes. She framed it as a desperate boundary set by a woman whose health was broken by his abuse and sheer exhaustion. The court records prove Anne was the actual financial provider of the family, finally drawing a line in the sand and demanding the respect her capital and labor had earned. Fast forward back to those 1883 probate records, and we can see the final outcome of Anne's long game. Let's look closely at those massive promissory notes again. Sarah Epperly holding $900, Minerva Miller holding $500. Those are the exact same daughters she protected and brought across the plains in 1852. These documents prove that Anne actively financed her daughters' adult lives, providing them with the capital they needed to establish their own households. True independence on the frontier required securing and distributing generational wealth to the women in your family. 19th-century legal structures were designed to subjugate women and erase their financial contributions, but Anne made sure her final instructions were followed. Buried in her estate files is a specific request allocating $130 for a monument and a fence to enclose her grave. The records confirm it was executed. A sworn receipt from L.S. Jenkins shows a $100 payment for a monument with inscriptions, paid for exclusively from the wealth she protected. Anne Fields survived an abusive marriage, dragged her family across the Oregon Trail, and fought off the legal system to ensure that she authored the final chapter of her life, quite literally carving her independence in stone.